Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. For today's video, I am going to be talking about 20 eyeshadow palettes that I will be using this spring. I did do a video like this for the winter time and I thought it was so fun. I loved filming it and picking out eyeshadow palettes, so I thought it'd be fun to do for this spring. So if you are interested in that and want to see the palettes that I am going to be using, then just keep watching. I did mention this in my winter palette video. I got this idea from Morgan Turner here on YouTube. She does these videos every season, so I thought I would do this for spring. A lot of people liked my winter palette video, so I really enjoyed finding the palettes that I wanted to use for the spring. I do have all my palettes sitting out in front of me. They are all in alphabetical order. I thought that would be the easiest way to talk about them. I do have two honorable mention palettes, so I didn't include that in my total because those are no longer a brand, so I didn't really want to show them too much on my channel because you cannot get them anymore. The first palette I want to talk about is from Anastasia Beverly Hills. This is the Nouveau palette. I love the packaging on this palette. Here's what the inside looks like. Very beautiful. I love the greens in the palette, but you also have this pop of purple and you have these pinky peachy shades. I think this is such a beautiful palette. I really hope they come out with more palettes like this. I think this is a perfect palette for someone who loves neutrals but wants to get into color a little bit. I think this is perfect for the springtime. I cannot wait to create more looks with it. Then we have from ColourPop, this is the Sprinkle a Little Magic palette. This is in collaboration with Disney and Tinkerbell. Can we take a moment for this packaging? I loved Tinkerbell growing up. I don't know why I didn't buy it the first launch that they did, but they brought this palette back and I was like, oh, all right, I'm gonna buy this because I missed out on it the last time. This is a green and pink palette. Look at how beautiful this is. I haven't really used it a whole lot, so that's why I picked it, so I can make sure to use it quite a bit. I love greens and pinks. Those are like my favorite eyeshadow colors to wear, so I cannot wait to use this and create more looks with it. I really think I've only done like 2 looks with this palette, so definitely going to be using this some more. I have 2 palettes from Cosmic Brushes. This is the first palette that I picked out. This is the Serenity palette. I think everyone has heard of this palette. This is a little bit of a deeper palette than I normally use in the spring, but I love these pops of lighter pastels in here. I love these shimmers, but then you also have these deep tones to kind of deepen up the look if you want to. I'm excited to create some looks with this spring, so I really love the quality of it, and they are not expensive at all. I would definitely recommend picking up a palette from Cosmic Brushes. The other palette from Cosmic Brushes is the Muse palette. This is their newest palette that they came out with. Look at how stunning this packaging is, and then you open it up. Look at how beautiful these shades are. I do think that these pair really well together. I haven't actually put them side by side, but I think these will pair really well together. If you want to use some shades from each palette, I may have to do a look with that. I think that would be really fun to do. But I love how interesting these shades are. You have this mustardy yellow shade, but you have a teal right here that I think is so interesting. I don't have that shade in my collection. I really love this kind of dirty green color. I think this is such a beautiful palette. I love these pastels in here as well. So far I've created quite a bit of looks with this palette and I really have been enjoying it. I have one palette from Give Me Glow Cosmetics. This is the Pastel Dreams palette. Love the packaging on this. Here is the inside of the palette. I love that you can create very easy looks with this. You can go into the matte blue and the shimmer blue, same with the pink, yellow, and so forth. I think you can create so many easy looks with just 2 shades in the palette, but you can also mix and match. This is one of my favorite pastel palettes. The shimmers are really beautiful. I love creating looks with this. I feel so pretty when I do looks with this, so I would definitely recommend if you're looking for a good pastel palette, I would definitely recommend this one. So Can't wait to be using this spring. This is something a little different than what I would normally go for the spring, and this is from Fantasy Cosmetica. This is the Rogue palette. I know you have some pastels in here, but you have some deeper tones in this corner here. The main reason I picked this out is for the lighter shades and for the multi-chromes. I think these multi-chromes are so beautiful. I really do think that they would be perfect for the spring, but if you want to do a little more grungy tones, you have them down here. So I really just picked it out for the multi-chromes because I love using the multi-chromes, but I really do think this is a beautiful palette and you could definitely use it for the springtime. Then we have the Glamlite and Strawberry Shortcake palette. This is the Berrylicious palette. Look at how cute the packaging is, and when you open it up you have this pink and green color story, really bold hot pinks in this palette. You have these really bright green shades. I've only used this palette I believe once. I've created a full look with it just once, but I cannot wait to create more looks with this. It came out Black Friday and I know it took a while with shipping because there were so many orders for Black Friday, so I didn't end up getting this until I think around December, closer to Christmas time. So of course I wasn't using these colors around that time. I guess I could have used the greens, but I cannot wait to recreate some looks with this palette. Really bold, bright, colorful. I think this will be so beautiful for the springtime. I have another one from Glamlite. This is the Ice Cream Dream palette. This is a pretty big palette. I think it's 30 shades. It is what I have on my eyes today. Let me zoom you in. I have the mattes on my eyes. Here is the look that I created today using the mattes with the Ice Cream Dream palette. If you are interested in this look, let me know down below if you would like me to do a tutorial on it. But I used some of the mattes down here with this palette. I love this palette. The mattes are so beautiful. I love the shimmers as well, but the mattes are a real standout for me. This section here is probably my favorite. I could probably do without this. Like, look at how beautiful that palette would be right here. I would definitely buy a palette like this. I don't really use this top roll a whole lot, but I love this palette so much. I would definitely recommend it. It's a really good one from Glamlite. So I love creating pastel looks with this palette. Then I have the Lily palette from Klarity Cosmetics. This is actually my first and only palette from Klarity Cosmetics, but look at how stunning that packaging is. Look at that color story. How beautiful is this? Look at that multi-chrome in the mirror. Such a beautiful shade. This multi-chrome is insane. I love that you can create really easy looks. You can go in with these two shades, these two shades, these two shades to create looks. I've mixed and matched the oranges and purples together and I was in love with that look. I really haven't used this palette a whole lot. It kind of came out in a weird time last year, so I didn't have much time to create looks with it, but I want to make it a point to use this palette quite a bit in the spring because I really want to try more from Klarity Cosmetics. So love this palette, can't wait to use it some more. Moving on to my second stack here, we have this palette that shocked me. This is from Laura Lee Los Angeles. This is the Candy Skies palette. Unfortunately, you cannot get this palette anymore, but look at how stunning this packaging is. I love it. I want to eat it. But here's the inside of the palette. This shocked me so much. This was my first palette from Laura Lee Los Angeles. I did not think I was going to use this palette as much as I do. I have quite a bit of shades that have some really good dips in them, actually. I love creating looks with this palette. I think last spring I had to tell myself to stop using this palette because I was using it so much. I love this palette. I cannot say enough good things about it because I really enjoy creating looks with it. So I'm going to stop rambling about this palette, but you know I will be using this in the springtime. Then I have this palette from Lethal Cosmetics. I don't know what the name of this palette is. They don't have names on their palettes, and I didn't buy this. I got this as a gift from my sister. Look at this color story. How beautiful. This just screams spring to me. I've used this palette I think 4 or 5 times. I really want to create a lot more looks with this. I can come up with so many looks in my head with this palette. So I'm really excited to keep using this palette. I love the quality of Lethal Cosmetics. It's really good. I do want to buy some more from Lethal, but definitely going to use this one for the springtime. I can't wait to create more looks with it. I do have 2 palettes from Nomad Cosmetics. I love Nomad's packaging. I also love their embossing on their eyeshadows. They do such a good job with that. This palette screams spring to me. You have these pinky rows over here. In the center you have this beautiful yellow row, and then you have these kind of gray and purpley shades over here. I did not think I was gonna like these 2 rows, especially this one, but it really does look really beautiful on the eyes. I love that you can do a look with each row really easy, but you can also mix and match with all of these colors together. I've done the yellow and purples together. Of course, I've done the pinks and the purples together as well, but I also went down each row and created a look. It's very easy. I love the way that Nomad sets up these palettes, and this is such a beautiful palette for spring. And then I have another palette from Nomad. Again, the packaging is so beautiful. This is the Paradise Islands palette. Look at this color story. How beautiful is this palette? This palette is very unique to my collection. I do not have some of these shades here, like this teal is really unique. This is also a unique blue shade that I don't have in my collection. I love the shimmers in this palette. I also really like this yellowy green here. I love Nomad's formula. I would definitely recommend them if you're looking into getting some Nomad palettes, but I love creating looks with this palette. I think the first look that I ever did, I think I did film a video on this, but I loved that look so much. So I love mixing and matching some of the shades. You can do blues, greens, you can do a more warmer shade, warmer toned look up here. So I really do love this palette. This is a little bit bigger than this one, but I do love Nomad a lot. I have one of my favorite Natasha Denona palettes. This is the Pastel palette. I love the packaging, the ombre in this palette. You could probably tell that I do really like this palette, especially this shade here. I have quite a dip in it. This is such a beautiful palette. I love that Natasha started to come out with these midi-sized palettes. This is such a gorgeous palette. Again, you could create really easy looks with 2 shades, but I love mixing and matching the shades. Also, some unique shades in these palettes. I love the unique pastel shades that I normally don't see in palettes. I love creating looks with this palette, so definitely going to use this. I love Natasha's formula as well. Another one of my favorite brands is Oden's Eye. I have 2 palettes picked out. I love Oden's Eye packaging. These 2 palettes are actually some of my favorite packaging I have in my collection. First, we have the Solmane palette. I think this is the Solmane 2. This is my vibe. I love the suns and the moons on this palette. Look at the packaging. And then on the inside, I love the blues and the purples in the palette. Those are like my favorite rows. I don't really use this bottom row a whole lot. I mainly use these top 2 rows. But if I do want to go for a warm toned look, I will go into this row here. I love Oden's Eyes shimmers and the mattes. They're formula is so amazing. I love this palette so much. We have a newer palette from them. This is the Flora Story palette. This is in collaboration with Makeup Just for Fun. I love this packaging. Again, my vibe. I love the mushrooms and I love the color story. You have a green and purple color story. Those are some of my favorite eyeshadow shades to wear. You already know this. I've been using this palette quite a bit. I think this is a really nice palette for a neutral lover who wants to dig into some color, or a colorful eyeshadow lover like me that wants to use some neutral shades. I wouldn't really call these neutral, but for me these are toned down, as you can see what I am wearing on my eyes today. But I love Oden's eye quality. I think they're so amazing, so I'm going to enjoy using those palettes. Then we have a more expensive brand. This is from Pat McGrath. This is the Huetopian Dream palette. My sister did get me this for Christmas, I think 2 years ago when it came out. I love Pat McGrath. This is so bad. I have 2 Pat McGrath palettes and I really do love them. I have Hit Pan on my other palette that I have. I love these special shades over here. The mattes blend out really easily. I can create so many easy looks with this palette. It is a little bit more expensive, so I definitely like my less expensive options, but I do have this palette, so I am going to use it. I think it is really pretty for a spring palette. You do have some more pinky neutral shades, but then you also have these special shades over here. I really do like Pat McGrath's formula. Is it worth $125 or $30? I don't know about that, but I'm going to use this palette. We're getting really close to the end. I have from Simply Posh Cosmetics, which is a brand that really surprised me. I love their quality of their eyeshadow. This is the Fairytale Fairies palette. I love their packaging. I love their setup of their palettes. It's really easy to create looks. Look at how beautiful this color story is. They always do a light matte row, shimmer row in the middle, and then you have these deeper mattes down here at the bottom. Really easy to create looks. You can go down the row and create looks, or you can mix and match. I've done that before as well, but if you're having a hard time coming up with looks, I love that they make it so easy for you. Their shimmers are so sparkly. That is actually what I have in the center of my lid. I have the shade Fairy Dust, which is the shade right here. I have that right in the center, so if you see that sparkle, that is what it is. I would definitely recommend Simply Posh Cosmetics. They are so good. I love them. I can't wait to see what other palettes they come out with. Then I have the Sydney Grace and Mel Thompson collaboration. This is the Tiny Marvels palette. Unfortunately, Mel did pass away, but this palette is so beautiful. I love the packaging on this palette, and the inside of the palette is even more beautiful. I love the pastels in this palette, but I also love that you can deepen it up as well. These shimmers are absolutely beautiful. I love creating looks with it. You can create so many beautiful looks. I love every look that I do with it. It just looks so beautiful, nice and smooth on the eyes. I love Sydney Grace's formula, so I enjoy using this one during the springtime. Then I have from Unearthly Cosmetics the Bunnies palette. I do believe she came out with this palette, and I think she reformulated one of the shades maybe and did new packaging on it. So here's the new packaging, and here's the inside of the palette. Another easy pastel palette. You can create looks with just 2 shades. You can use the matte and the shimmer. Of course, you can mix and match, which I like to do as well. I really haven't used this palette a whole lot. I know I need to do that, so I'm gonna make it a point to use this. I do really think this is such a beautiful palette. I love Unearthly's formula. I think Unearthly has one of the best formulas, so can't wait to use this in the springtime. From What's Up Beauty, I have the Geodes palette. I think the packaging is so beautiful. Here's what the inside looks like. I love the shimmers. I definitely think the shimmers are the standout of the palette. The mattes are really easy to work with. They're really nice and blendable, but I love the shimmers in this palette. I think this is such a beautiful color story. I love the pinks over here, but then you have this mustard yellow in this kind of khaki green shade. I think that pairs really well with these 2 shades here. We have a yellow shimmer and a green shimmer. You can't really see it very well because of the background, but I really love What's Up Beauty. I really hope they come out with a new palette. They haven't came out with a new one in a while, so I do really love What's Up Beauty. I think they are a very good brand. I think that came out to 21 palettes, which I think is pretty good. I do have 2 palettes I want to talk about that I have as honorable mention. They are no longer a brand, unfortunately. They were one of my favorite brands. I loved their eyeshadow formula, but unfortunately, they are no longer a brand. This used to be called Muse Beauty, but they did change their name to Kyla. But unfortunately, I'm very sad about them closing. But I have the Honore palette. Really beautiful, the pinky tones. This is such a soft palette on the eyes. And then I have the Le Jardin palette. I think that's how you pronounce it. Again, another beautiful one for the springtime. I did want to mention those off to the side as I will be using them, but I won't be using them on camera or anything like that. I will just be making a note to myself to use both of those palettes. All right, now that I did enough talking, that is everything for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I love sitting and chatting about palettes. Let me know in the comments below what palettes you will be using this spring. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell to be notified every time I upload a video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye everyone, have a good one.